Hello students, welcome to the session of English language teaching through virtual classes. So students, as today we'll go with the poetry section, and the name of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. An elementary school classroom in a slum, and it's written by Stephen Spender. So well students, Stephen Spender is one of the great English poet and essayist. He left the Oxford University before taking his graduation degree, and he went to Berlin. Later on, he showed his keen interest in politics and declared himself to be a socialist and a pacifist. And this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, is beautifully penned down by the poet Stephen Spender, where he shows where he tried to expose the glaring gaps and the marginalization that exists in our society. And he also wants to put light on the pathetic condition of the slum children, the way they receive their education. Publicly, this writer is considered to be a scrupulous objector and socialist. And through this poem, he is just comparing the lives of the haves and the have-not. So haves and have-not student, it simply means that the privileged and the underprivileged classes. So well students, now I think we'll proceed to the poem. So students, before going to the poetry, the main poem, and in your NCERT textbook there is a question that is, have you ever visited any slum school? As far as my knowledge permits, I can say that in this island 99% of the student, they never might have seen any slum school. So students, through this poem you will come to know about how the slum classroom looks and how the children are. So now here goes the poem. Far, far from the gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, their hair torn around in the pallor, the tall girl with her weighed-on head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eye, the stunned, unlucky hire of the twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease. His lesson from his desk, at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room, other than this. So students, in the very first stanza, so here the poet, it might be that he visited some of the slum school, and according to his vision or what he observed, he has given, or we can say that he has penned it down in this poem. So that's why he says that these slum children, they are far, far away from the strong, gusty waves means strong waves of life and activity. This means that these children are devoid of the energy or the vitality which the children of such age they possess. And he is comparing these children to that of the rootless weed. And why the poet is comparing these children to the rootless weed? Because this rootless weeds, it means that it is an unwanted plant which grow on their own in the garden. So similarly, he says that these children are also like the unwanted plant. and they are in a very untidy manner. Their hairs are not tied properly. It is just scattered over their face from one end to another. So that gives a very clumsy look. And in the classroom, the poet notices one very tall girl was sitting. And how she was sitting? Her head, it was weighed down. So it simply means that this girl, due to poverty or due to the tiredness, she is not able to balance herself. And secondly, we see that in the same classroom, one boy was there. How he looks? He is like the paper, so thin like the paper. Why? Because of malnourishment, or we can say that he is the undernourished child. And his eyes are compared to that of the rat's eyes. Why rat's eye? Because rat's eye, it symbolizes timidity and anxiety. Timid in the sense that he is in search of the food and security. And besides this, one more boy was there in the classroom. He was reciting some poems in the class. And that boy, the poet says that he is the unlucky hire. So why that child is called the unlucky hire? Because this child, he has acquired all the diseases from his parents, like the parents giving their heritage to the children. But this child, in spite of such a health condition, he was sitting in the classroom and reciting the poem. And finally, the poet says that in that very dark and the dim classroom, one more boy was sitting there. He was in one corner. He was being unnoted. And that boy, the poet says that he looks very sweet and young. And his eyes, it is like a dreamy eyes. He is lost in his own dreams. And this child, he was more interested in the squirrel game outside the classroom, which suggests that he too want to lead a life similar to that of a squirrel, a free life. But that is not possible in the slum area. So children, in this the paragraph in the stanza, the poetic device used here. We'll go for the poetic device. So here, like rootless wheat, like rootless wheat. It is as the word like is used, so it is the simile used here. And one more here, the rat's eyes. So rat's eye, that is a metaphor used here. One more thing, that is a gnarled disease. This is also the same, that is the metaphor used here. And one more, the poetic device used here, that is the squirrel's game. So students, this squirrel's game is also the metaphor used here. And as a whole, if I can say that, this poem, the style of this poem is a freestyle. So I hope student, you might have understood the first stanza. Now we'll go for the second stanza. So students, now we'll just move on to the second stanza. And in the second stanza, the poet is describing about the slum classroom, especially the walls of the classroom. So the poem goes like this: on sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized doom riding all cities, belt, flowery, Tyrole's valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their future is painted with the fog, a narrow street, sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from the rivers, capes, and the stars of the world. So students, in this stanza, just now as I told you that here the poet is describing about the donations which are being displayed on the slum classroom. So on the walls, how the wall is, the very first sentence, of the second stanza says that the sour cream walls. So what does this sour cream means signify? That means what, the cream when it becomes sour means somewhat, the foul smell will come. So similarly, from the walls of the slum classroom, such a foul smell was coming. It means that it may not have been the painted for past so many years and all, but then also it also tells us about the decaying aspect of the slum children. But despite this wall, one can see that the entire wall was being decorated by the donations. So on the wall, one can see the picture of Shakespeare, the Shakespeare's head, and one more scenery was there, that is the cloudless, a very bright morning, and about the civilized doom, which symbolized the materialistic world, and the Tyrolese valley, and different varieties of the flowers, somewhat bell in shape, and the most important one is the open-handed map. So students, open-handed map, it simply means that a map where you can see all the worldly amusements, or all the worldly amusements with its beauties and bounties. Okay, so that type of map was also displayed in the classroom. But what is the living standard of these people? For these people, all this thing is of no use. Why? Because their future is just outside the window. And outside the window, what it is? It is the slum area. And it is always covered and circled in a foggy atmosphere. Foggy means what? Their future is not at all clear. They don't know what will happen to them the next day. And these people, throughout their life, they spend their time in a narrow street. And once again, this narrow street, it symbolizes the loss of hope. There is no hope for the development, and it is covered by a very dull sky. So that's why the poet says that these children are far, far away from the stars of the world, which simply means that they are far, far away from all those donations which is being displayed on the classroom. So now students, will go to the next stanza. So the next stanza goes like this: surely Shakespeare is wicked and the map bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal for their lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. From fog to endless night, on the slag heaps, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass, with bottle bits on the stones. All the time and spaces are foggy slum, so blot their maps with a slum as big as a dome. So in this, the third stanza, the very first and the second line, you see that what it is written: Shakespeare is wicked and the map the bad example. So what the writer mean to say is that he doesn't mean that Shakespeare is a wicked person, because he says so because it doesn't match to the living condition of the slum children. And further he says that this map is a bad example. Here what is the map? Here the map is the open-handed map with all its the natural, the amusements of this earth with its all beauties and bounties. So the poet says that it is bad example because by seeing all these maps, the children will get tempted. They will be tempted to visit such place or to possess all those things, and this temptation will lead them to steal. So that's why he says that Shakespeare is wicked and the map bad example. I hope students, you might be very, very clear with these two sentences, because this is a in the board exam and all, so such question they ask. And further the poet says that how the children's life is, their life is, it is secretly turned into the cramped holes. That means what? Cramped holes, it is like a dingy cell, without any the ventilations and all, always surrounded by the darkness. So that's why they say that these children's life, it just encircle or it spins around fog to the endless night. That means there is no clear future for them. And how they look like the slag heap. Why the poet says that the slum children look like the slag heap? Because they are like as they have lost all the energy, they lost all their vitality, they have acquired so many the gnarled disease and all, by which they appear like a slag heap. And he further says that these children, they do have skins but without any flesh, because of which the bones are bulging outside, all the deformed bones and all, it is just bulging outside and giving a very shabby look. These children, the poet observes, because he has visited the slum classroom, so he says that these children do wear spectacles with steel frame and all, but how the glasses in that, or how the lens it is like the mended glass on the bottle bits on stones, all broken as if it is scattered. So similarly, why he is giving the example like it is like the mended glass, like the bits of bottle, it is simply because their life is also in a shattered way, that is from the fog to the endless night. And finally he says that nowadays, this slum area, they are getting very wider and wider. So that's why he says that just blot their maps with slum as big as the dawn. And he simply mean to say that these slums are a block for the development, or they are the hinder for the development. So students, here some of the poetic device I would like to familiarize you with. So here that is the bottle bits. On stone, they are like the bottle bits on stones. So as the word like comes, so that means it is a simile. And one more, that is the last sentence, slum as big as doom. So it is also the simile used here. So finally students, we'll shift to the last stanza. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, break, oh break, open till they break the town, and show the children to the green field, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into the books, the white and the green leaves open, history there whose language is the sun. So students, here what the poet mean to say that, he says that unless and until all the government take notice of the slum environment, nobody can change their living condition. And he says them so because they should look into the difficulties of the children which they face in their everyday life, and by clearing all these things, or by giving them a chance and all, he says that let's make the world map, which is displayed on the classroom, a reality for them. So in order to make the world map, the map, reality for them, the most important thing is that, so all the peoples, that is the governor, the NGOs and all the other people, they should look into it. So the poet says that by giving them a chance, that is all the peoples, that is the governor, the inspector, the visitor, and all the other people, who run the slum classroom, if they come together, then we can make the world a real, the world map a real for them. On the other side, he says that how these children's life, it is like they are shut upon their lives like a catacombs. And here catacombs, simply it means that it is a underground grave. Catacombs, this is a underground grave. So why the poet uses this word as the catacomb? Because these children's life is always surrounded by darkness. There is no ray of hope or the brightness for them. Their future is not at all clear. So that's why he insists that all this, the governor, the inspector, the visitor, and the people, those who are running this slum classroom, to break all the restrictions which is imposed on these slum children, and give them a chance to walk freely on the green field, so that by experience they can learn much more better way. And he also tells them that give them a chance to walk freely, or to run under the clear sky and walk on the gold sand, so that they can understand the world in a much better way. And not only the world, they can understand the white and the green leaves. So here the poet talks about the white and the green leaves. It simply means that white leaves, that means that is the books, and the green, that is the nature. So he mean to say that to break all the restrictions, and so that they can enjoy or understand the world in a much better way, because history theirs whose language is the sun. And here the language is the sun, the language of the sun. It means full of energy, full of radiant, very enthusiastic. So he says that history become once if the person outdo others. So he wants that these children should be given a chance, so that they can paint their future in a much better way. So students, that's all here. So now we'll have a quick review of all the sessions or the stanzas what we read now. So students, I think till now all the 4 stanzas were being explained to you, and you might have understood in a much better way, because I taught you in a the simple language, and my aim is to reach you people. So that's why always I used to teach in a simple language. So now the student, let's have a quick review which is being screened on. So in the first stanza, provides a clear description of the students in the classroom. He talks about their physical appearance, their scared look, the stunned child with his twisted bones, and the boy at the back of the class who lives in a dream. This boy represents a glimmer of hope and a sense of loss. So now in the second stanza, Spender describes the classroom and its contents. Likewise, I told you all the donations which were being displayed on the classroom. That is the classroom is full of donations. The children come from lower classes. The classroom runs on donations given by the capitalist. The map and Shakespeare's head are the symbols of education. In the third stanza, Spender shows a cynical response to the future of the students. He feels that Shakespeare is wicked and the map bad example. He says so because the world shown to these children will tempt them towards crime. His cynicism is directed against the upper class who wants to have a firm grip over these children. The donations given by this class is also an evil. That's what just now I explained you in the third stanza. He is sickened the way humanity treats children. In the final stanza, Spender comes to a full circle. He replaces cynicism with hope, a plea for the new manifesto for the children. He is requesting everybody, the inspector, the visitor and the governor, to transform the donations into reality. He wants a change that will break open the windows and free the children. He wants the money given is used for education of these children so that they are allowed to freely explore, learn and be liberated. So students, that's all in today's the poetry section. I hope you understood in a much better way. So for any queries you can contact. So students, now we'll move to the writing section. Not too much but a little bit. As usual, I used to give you some tips regarding the writing section in every means the language class. So till today we'll go for the invitation and replies, and today's main focus is only about the invitation, because that much time is not there to go ahead with the replies. So before teaching you, the students, that is a marking scheme. So the invitation, simply it is a kind of personal notice sent individually to people, and there are two types of invitations. The first one is the formal invitation and the second one is the informal invitation. So I hope each and every the child is familiar with the invitation, because at your homes you might be receiving either the formal invitation in the form of the cards and all, or your friends and relatives may call you for some functions or the occasions, that is in the informal invitation. So today we will just stick to the formal invitation. What formal invitation is? Just a brush up. In formal invitation, it is in the form of a card. One start with the designation of the organizer, followed by the name and address of the host, details about the date, time and venue of the function, and the name of the chief organizer with RSVP on the bottom left hand corner of the card. So students, I would like to clarify the one thing, that is the RSVP. Usually means many people in the invitation card they don't type RSVP at the end, but that is a must. RSVP, it simply means RSVP. It is a French phrase which simply means that please respond. Because please respond in a sense that in case if you call some important personality as a chief guest, and the chief guest on that very particular day he might be having some previous engagement, so he may not be able to attend the function. So in RSVP, if the address will be given there or the phone number will be given there, nowadays email ID and all, so by which they can contact. So that's why this RSVP is very important part of the formal invitation. Some value points that you should always keep it in mind, because all the writing part and all, there is no need to mug up. This is just by experience and all, by the day to day we come to understand, and for this purpose little bit idea you should have in your mind. So some value point: formal invitations do not include the name of the addressee. Formal invitations are always written in third person, that is he, she or it are used in place of I, you or we. The occasion, the name of the invitee, the name of the host, date, time, venue, etc. are written in proper sequence. And some more details like name, designation, address, etc. of the organizer, sponsor or the host should be included. If a VIP is invited, then the name of that VIP should appear prominently. Prominently, it simply means that it should be written in some capital or block. So students, for you one sample, one example, the formal invitation which is now being screened. We'll just go with the question now. As the Secretary of Literacy Club of Government Model Senior Secondary School, Port Blair, draft a formal invitation in not more than 50 words for the inauguration of the club in your school. So here the club is already given that in the beginning, that is a literacy club. So students, please just, it is a very simple one, just focus on that, because I have just in the slide I have prepared it for you. So here goes the format like this. So in the very top, and this the sequence that should also be followed, because unlike the notice and all, or unlike the poster designing or the advertisement, you should not write certain the zigzag pattern, that you should always follow. So on the top, that is the person, those who are sending the invitation, or those who are writing the invitation, that is, it is from the school side. So that's why principal, staff and students of, that should be only that much should be in the first line. And the second line, that is the institution's name, that is Government Model Senior Secondary School, Port Blair. And the third line, that you have to invite the people. So you can invite the person in any way. I have written solicit your esteemed presence. So you can write, that is request the pleasure of your company, you are cordially invited, request your beaming presence, anything you can write. It is not necessary that, as I am showing you, solicit your esteemed presence, you should always write in the same way. Any means the sentence you can write over there. Then after that, for what you are soliciting, in the inauguration of. So inauguration of the literacy club. Just I have added one name for that literacy club, that is the Spencer Literacy Club. On, then we have to write the day and the date and all. On 30th May 2020, and the timing at 3 p.m. And next one, where? In the school auditorium. And here the special invitee, because it is something connected with the literacy and all, so that's why I have written Dr. Venkatesh. He is a noted writer. So that is a VIP's name, and has kindly consented to be the chief guest. The last sentence you should always write, has kindly consented to be the chief guest. And students, you have a look, I have written that RSVP. Okay, RSVP, that is a Secretary, Literacy Club of that, the organizer, then the phone number or the email ID, anything you can give. I hope students, this format you can copy it down in your notebook, and similarly you can try to solve other questions, because I have given you some 2 tasks based on this the format or the pattern, you please try to do it. So the question for practice student: you are a student leader of ABC School, Port Blair. Draft an invitation on behalf of the principal for a musical evening in aid of corona pandemic victims to be held in your school. So this is for a musical evening. So here students, in the VIP's name, means in the chief guest, you can call any of the great, the singer's name and all you can write. The rest all will remain the same, when it will be, where it will be, who are inviting, like that. And the second question: you are opening an exclusive parlor for ladies. Draft a formal invitation for its inauguration with the necessary details, because here in the question all the details are not given, so you can write whether it is the means exclusive parlor and what the parlor is about. You just mention all the details while writing the invitation. So students, I hope you might have understood and enjoyed the English class, and you might have understood the poem in a much better way, because I explained it to you in details, stanza wise, and also screened you about the quick review of the entire poem, and little bit the tips about the writing part. And in the writing part also I touched none of the new topic, that is the very familiar one, invitation, which everyone accidentally or willingly they come across invitations and invitations card. I showed before you one sample, one example how to write the invitation. And finally, as an assignment, I have given you some 2 topics, and I hope students you will try to practice that one. That too means the questions which I have given for the invitation, and for any queries you are most welcome, you can contact. Thank you.